Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you find yourself today. I am so excited because it's another beautiful day and we are going to have the opportunity to again discuss, share ideas, and learn from each other. So for me, it is always a privilege and an honor to learn because that's what life is all about. It's about learning. Can't finish learning until we fold our arms and we sink 6 feet deep. But until then, we got to continue to learn. So I'm excited to be here to learn. I Today we are going to be talking about very important issues going on in Ghana. And again, as I always say, that whatever goes on in Ghana, about 90% of what goes on in Ghana goes on in almost all of the African countries. So you can bet that people from the 54 African countries can relate to what we're talking about. So even though we use Ghana as a case study, we are specifically talking about Africa or Black people or people of African descent. There is an issue I know most people want us to talk about, but that's not what we won't be talking about today. Today, we are going to discuss a very, very important issue. Why some people behave the way they behave as if they don't care about their countries, as if they don't care about what goes on in their countries. And on that note, just before we start, I want to, as usual, say that on this platform, we don't entertain insults. However, we welcome dissenting opinions. If you have any dissenting opinions, if you don't agree with us, you're more than welcome to table your different opinion, and we would discuss that. We would be happy to discuss that because, as I said from the beginning, we're here to learn. Again, creativity and inventions are not by the color of one's skin. I want to repeat myself. Creativity and inventions are not by the color of one's skin, but by an educated mind. So, irrespective of the color of your skin, no matter how you look like, educate yourself, enlighten yourself, open up your mind for information, use your brain to decipher information, process information, turn information around in and out in your mind, and your mind will be open and will be ready for inventions and creativity. So do not limit yourself because of the color of your skin. Because irrespective of the color of your skin, if you educate your mind, if you educate yourself, if you open up your mind, if you enlighten yourself, you'd be amazed your capability and the power you have to create and invent. So educate yourself and be an inventor and be a creator. On that note, you're welcome to analyze this. Today, as I said, um, there was a video going around, or a couple of videos, let me put it that way, going around about people who were have not been paid. I believe I saw one for some nurses or health workers and one for some teachers who've not been paid for a couple of times. Before I go on to that, let me say this, and you can note it down because I'm going to be talking in lines of patriotism and in lines of discipline. So this is my definition for discipline. Discipline I have defined as being intentional and consistent about doing the right thing. I want to repeat myself. Discipline is being intentional and consistent about doing the right thing. Okay, so let's shelve that for now. So it baffles my mind, it beats my mind. Um, I'm amazed to understand or to know, let me put it that way, to know that people will work for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months. And I hear some people even a year and they've not been paid. And I ask myself, how do they expect these people to live? That's number one. How do you expect somebody you haven't paid for work done to live? Number two, how do you expect this person to love a community that treats him or her that way? You see, most times we're talking about building a nation. And I believe building a nation, no doubt, is leadership. So some people will put it top-down approach. Leadership. Leadership has the blueprint. Leadership has the direction. Leadership has the vision. Leadership would spell out the roadmap. And after spelling out the roadmap, leadership will put policies in place. Leadership will put programs, systems in place to be able to fulfill that vision. So leadership is paramount. And when you're talking about people being patriotic, it means people who would want to die for their community, be it a nation, be it a community, be it a society, whatever. But people who would want to die for their nation. That's when we talk about patriotism. People would sacrifice their lives. They know the worth of that nation, so they want to sacrifice their lives for the betterment of that nation. And so when leadership has no blueprint, and leadership has no direction, leadership has no plan, and has no vision, because if you have no plan, obviously you have no vision. And if you have a vision, you would have a plan. So if you have no vision and you have no plan as to where you're taking the nation, and some people would say, oh, politicians come with manifestos. Manifestos. I'm not going to delve into that, but manifestos are not plans. Manifestos are not plans. We'll discuss what plans are. Manifestos are promises they make, and politicians make promises. And that is how come politicians are different from leadership. Whilst politicians are concerned about promises and elections, leadership is concerned about generations and purpose. And that's not what we're talking about today. So let me shelve that. So if they have no plan, they would have no vision, obviously. And so how come a community, and when you're building a nation, you need the whole community. So as I said, the leadership gives a roadmap. And within that roadmap, every member of that community finds his or her role in fulfilling the vision of leadership. And so motivation is a major factor in propelling people to do or to play their role in the fulfillment of a vision of a nation. That is why payment of salaries is very, very vital. It should be one of the utmost priorities of every politician who intends to build a community, because it is the motivation for the people or the individuals to play their part in the nation building. In other words, if you tell people, let's go, and you are lounging in your couch, probably drinking tea or coffee, Had you expected the people to be motivated to go unless you force them? That would be slavery. Okay. So it amazes me to know that some nurses have worked for 10 months, not to even talk about 1 month without pay. I mean, I kept thinking about it. How come nobody made provisions for these people or planned for the payment of salaries of these people? It is not that they've been paid, but they're asking for increment. That is not the case, but they have not been paid. Somebody goes to work 1 month, goes to work 2 months, goes to work 3 months, goes to work 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months without any salary. Ask yourself, how does the person get to work every day? How does the person foots his or her bills? I mean, how does the person eats every day? And so if all of these becomes a burden for the individual who you expect to play a part in fulfillment of your vision, let's even put vision aside, but your manifesto, what will motivate such a person to get up every morning to play his or her part? And sometimes people talk about the fact that government workers or the public sector is full of lackadaisical attitude. Sometimes people will say when you go to the ministries, people will be lounging or sitting in their couches, they're slouching their couches and their seats and be reading newspapers and some working on lottery and they don't really care about work. And sometimes they just be looking at their time. They be checking the clock as soon as it's 5 o'clock. And some people would even get out before 5 o'clock. There are two things involved here: lack of a leadership, which obviously borders on motivation, lack of motivation. So lack of leadership, which borders on lack of motivation, and lack of leadership also borders on supervision. So if you have no supervision, you have no motivation, that is what happens. People don't care. People don't care. And you cannot have proper supervision without motivation. That is one thing we also have to bear in mind or keep at the back of our minds. You cannot have supervision, proper supervision without motivation. And so, if we really are serious about building our nation, be it Ghana, be it Nigeria, be it Congo, be it South Africa, be it Namibia, be it Tunisia, be it um, um, Zimbabwe, wherever we find ourselves, if we are serious about building our nation, we ought to discipline ourselves. This is where I bring in discipline. We ought to discipline ourselves by always yearning to do the right thing, being consistent, being intentional, and do the right thing. And one of the right things to do is to make sure the payment of salaries is paramount. And I'm not even going to talk about the attitude of the minister because I didn't see any empathy. I didn't see somebody who cares about the people. And later we saw a video of one of the nurses who was very outspoken. who is being queried or is being sanctioned or being disciplined or whatever you call it by the National Health Division. And I ask myself, are these people really serious? Are they really serious? It's as if the whole nation is a joke, to be honest with you, because we don't even see the seriousness of that issue. We don't even see the impact. Do you know what you're telling the people? Nobody cares about this nation. That's what you're telling the people. Because if leadership is up and doing, if we have leadership, the ordinary citizens should see dedication, patriotism on the part of leadership. And that motivates the ordinary citizen. When you care about the people, it motivates them. And even when there's an issue, when there's a problem, they are motivated by the fact that we are building a nation. And this is a part I have to play to make things work. But if you don't care about, I'm hammering on this part because it is very vital. I want us to see the severity of that picture, not paying people to the point that it was not even budgeted for. And I'm like, whoa, are we serious? You see, no wonder people would do anything. Look at the state of Ghana now. We have an issue of galamsey. People don't care. Destroying forests, destroying rivers, destroying lives and property. And nobody cares. Sometimes I watch some of the videos and I cry. This is a nation where nobody cares from the top to the bottom. Obviously, I'm speaking in generality. I know some people in there care. You know, people are destroying the nation with impunity, without any sense of fear. And I ask myself, when did we get here? And how did we get here? And it all points to one thing: lack of leadership. And so the issue of the non-payment of salaries is not an issue that needs to be taken lightly. Because if we really want to build a nation, motivation is a major factor. Supervision is a major factor. Look at all the sectors that are not doing well, and you find these two things running across. All the sectors that are not doing well, check from businesses, even galamsey, the schools, check all the sectors that are not doing well. You find out these two things: motivation and supervision. And they point to lack of leadership. And so this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you hear me from, I want to entreat all of us to think through, to think and analyze. Turn this issue inside out and upside down in your mind about people working for a couple of months without salary. And some of them, I believe, are breadwinners of their families. This is not an issue that should even be a topic to discuss on the table of any serious nation or any serious community. It is not an issue to be discussed on the table of any serious community. I want to repeat myself. When that issue comes up, I'm not talking about better conditions of service. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about payment of salaries. when that issue comes up, it tells me or it gives me an indication of a failed state, to the point that the people were not even thought of. Nobody cares about them to even budget for them. And then they tell them, the next budget reading, we're going to put your issue, or we're going to table your issue. We're going to make sure. And I'm like, it blows my mind. So please let us get serious. If we really want to build a nation, the current administration has a slogan saying they are here to reset. They have a reset agenda. If we really want to reset, let us reset our minds. Let us see the seriousness of the picture of people working without salary, without payment, without any motivation. And sometimes they are even talked to anyhow. Because I listened to that outspoken lady who spoke about the fact that the member of parliament in her constituency told her and a group of people, I don't care even if you don't vote. And tell me, how can I be convinced that people of this nature are worthy of my vote or are worthy of my mandate to represent me in government? You don't, because you don't care about the people. And anybody, let me say this. I'm looking straight into the camera to say this. Leadership is the expense of love. I want to repeat myself. Leadership is the expense of love. Anybody who is expensing leadership, or who is ex, executing leadership, has an understanding of what love is. You can never expense leadership. You can never expense leadership, or you can never execute leadership without love. And so if you understand love, you understand how leadership operates, or you understand the weight and the value of leadership. And so anybody who comes to ask for your vote or ask for your mandate to be in place, or to be in power of, or position, in any position, any form of power, if that person has no understanding of love, that person can never experience leadership. I want you to think about this. As I said, we learn here on this platform. And so if we really want to build a nation, if we're serious about building a nation, payments of salaries would have to be paramount. Motivation will have to be paramount. And motivation comes in various forms. It comes in payment of salaries. It comes in dedication on the part of leadership. It comes with discipline on the part of leadership. Discipline, in other words, leadership being intentional and consistent about doing the right thing, not doing what is good for them, doing the right thing. And so if we really are serious about building the nation, those of you who are thinking of going into politics, especially the youth who are thinking of going into politics, let discipline be the bedrock. of your political decision. I want to repeat this. Young people who are thinking about going into politics, let discipline be the bedrock of your political decision. You don't take any decision, you don't make any move without asking yourself, is this the right thing to do? And always be committed to doing the right thing. Always be committed to doing the right thing. I'm not saying we're angels. I'm not saying we're saints. We're gonna do everything right, or we are gonna do. Sometimes we. What I want you to understand is know within yourself that you're doing the right thing. It might not be the good thing, but it might be the right thing. If it is the right thing, be rest assured. It might go wrong. It does not mean it is not the right thing. I want to say this again. It might go wrong. It does not mean it is not the right thing. And the part that it went wrong or the part that it goes wrong is when the people have not understood the essence of us doing the right thing. And sometimes you see the indiscipline right from the top and it goes down to the people, where people sometimes don't even understand. They don't understand what they are doing. They don't understand doing the right thing. And sometimes I hear journalists, I hear people who are supposed to know better sit on their TV or their radio and they talk about the fact that if it was this period of our dispensation, this person would have been slapped, this person would have been lashed. And I ask myself, what happens to the rule of law? What happens to the rule of law? And so, in order for me to close this curtain today, I just want us all to understand that if we are serious about building a nation, we need to understand the principle of discipline. And let's start from our various individual homes in our little corners. Endeavor, be consistent, be intentional about doing the right thing. I always tell my kids, always do the right thing, and it'll save you a whole lot of trouble of explaining yourself. Because when you do the right thing, your conscience is clear, your integrity is intact, and it will save you a whole lot of trouble. You don't have to jump from one end to the other explaining yourself, jump all around the place explaining yourself. So today and now, let's start being disciplined. In our little areas, our little corners, let's start being disciplined. And if we start today, it'll become a habit. We adapt to that attitude and moving forward, when we're given the opportunity to serve, it will not be hard for us to do the right thing. On this note, I want to end today's Analyze This. We are 30 minutes into the time. And hopefully next week, same time, we'll continue this discussion. I want you to share the video, invite friends, spread the word around, and invite people to come on this platform so we can all learn, share ideas, and as it were, judge all, and make sure we equip ourselves to be able to build a better heritage or to build a better foundation for posterity. Let's equip ourselves to build our communities and build better foundation for posterity. Same time next week, we're going to meet here. Invite somebody to be a part of Analyze This in my name, Nana Osei Bonsu Jr. of Africa International Organization and Serto Leadership International. Catch you on the flip side. Bye-bye.